We have a huge focus on our values as a business. As you'll appreciate, we have a very caring team across our whole kind of UK business. We're very passionate about everything we deliver, and of course, great teamwork comes into play, as you would expect in a care home environment. And it really is about ultimately creating fulfilling lives for the residents that we care for. And residents have a fabulous time in our homes. They do all kinds of activities. We have wishing trees that enable them to do things that they've always wanted to do. I'm sure Leah will tell you stories about that later on. But really, we believe that our team are the very heart of everything that we do within Care UK. They genuinely are our greatest asset. And engagement for us is very much about our teams feeling really confident in what they deliver. Their work is not always the easiest of work, and they are an absolute delight to our residents. They're very passionate about what they do. They feel like they're genuinely supported in order to deliver what they need to. And it's ultimately for us, it's around making sure that our team are part of the big picture, are part of the journey. So that making sure that they are happy, supported, cared for, so that ultimately they can give, great care to our residents, and of course then business growth, leading back to happy team again as we start to, as we're really investing in their futures.
Before we go on to talk about the activities that we do in terms of engagement with our teams, I think it's important to show how we actually measure that what we're actually putting in place is hitting the spot and engaging with our teams. One of the ways that we do that is our annual engagement survey, which we call Over to You. And this is the particular highlights from here are 16% increase in engagement over the last 4 years. We're now at 83% engagement. And there's been substantial increase in scores for areas such as line manager satisfaction, which has very much been around our leadership development programme. Our colleagues' view of equality and diversity across Care UK. We've seen improvements in colleague developments. They feel like they're getting more career opportunities, but also the training development to get there as well. And the feeling towards Care UK has been a substantial improvement at 16%. And this is very much around their feeling for Care UK, that they want to work for us long term, and they feel valued by us. And then communication has been a key one, because I think, you can't have engagement without great communication. And so it's great to see that our team members are seeing that we are communicating more, and they're hearing more about what we're doing as a business as well. And then through this presentation, we'll share some of the areas that sat behind this. Just to show some of the results that we've seen from employee engagement as well. So carer turnover, whilst the sector has increased over the last 5 years, we have seen improvements in our carer role specifically, and I picked that role out because 2/3 of our workforce are carers, and they are typically national living wage roles. So obviously it's important to get the engagement there. They feel part of a team. We've also seen improvement in nurse turnover. We have a nursing shortage, which I'm sure everyone would know about, yet we have seen improvement in turnover in this group of colleagues, which has been very much around their role, providing them with leadership training, but they're also seeing better leadership overall. Head chef turnover is one particularly, because you wouldn't necessarily associate head chefs and kitchen teams within care homes in terms of cooking with fresh food. As an example, we do have a head chef who was a head chef at the Ivy. It's one of those around raising the profile of care homes, so head chefs do see it, they can come and create their own dishes with us. And we see a very low turnover in this role compared to the hospitality sector. And then one of the critical ones for relatives of our residents and potential customers is around our CQC ratings. We're governed by CQC, and in the last we've moved in the last 2 years from 4 outstanding rated homes to 18, which is fantastic testament to our home managers leading their teams and providing safe care. And then our grow our own. So this is around making sure that we're able to provide the career path, but have the best home managers leading our teams. And 38% of our new home managers were promoted internally from deputy manager in the last 12 months. Listening to colleagues is obviously critical to make sure that we are providing the right things. One of the key things that we've done is hold colleague voice forums. So we have been running this for the last 10 years. We've got a rep or 2 reps per home that come along. We run a national event every year that myself and the CEO run. And then we have the regional directors run them quarterly for within each of their regions for their homes as well. And these roles have been very important to tell us if what we're creating is the right thing, tell us if we're not focusing on the right thing, and input into programs such as our development programs, our inductions, gem recognition, etc. So they are the voices for every 10,000 colleague to bring along and share with us. And they are not afraid to ask us the difficult questions, which is great to see. And then other areas that we get feedback on, talked about over to you. We do exit interviews, we do stay interviews, and we've got a home manager conference that we run each year. And obviously this year we've not been able to do that face to face, but we are moving it to virtual. And then our leadership program to make sure that we are developing those behaviours across the business. And then another area that we have been focusing on is to make sure from an equality, diversity and inclusion perspective, all of our colleagues have a voice there as well. We've created a committee which consists of senior leaders across the business, and we have home manager representatives that we've run forums with. And then we are going to be running with colleagues next month, and we've got representatives putting themselves forward. They'd like to be a part of it, and this is very much about understanding people's experiences, what we do great, and then what we can do differently or improve on within Care UK, and this will help to form the plans each year and set our KPIs. One area of this, and I think it is critical for us, not just for our team members, is this is also relative to our residents as well. So actually when we're talking to colleagues, we're talking about residents and how we can make sure that they feel like they're included as well. And one of the areas that we're looking at is having an annual calendar which celebrates the different cultures within every home every single month. And that will be where team members will get residents involved in that as well to come up with those ideas of what that can look like. From a recognition perspective, again, part of engagement is about making sure that our colleagues feel listened to, but also recognised for the great work that they do. Our internal recognition programme is called GEM, Going the Extra Mile. There is, this scheme is in every single home and the support centre, and there is an Employee of the Month. Then we have some recognition, particularly over the last 6 months through the pandemic. We have created a Care UK Heroes campaign. Internally, this looked like recognising the amazing work that every single person within our homes has delivered. So we provide gift voucher, a Care UK Hero badge, and a huge thank you to every single colleague to say thanks for all the hard work that they've done. But this is now evolving out into the local home, so that we've got a recruitment campaign to attract people to come and work with our amazing heroes. And then the RCS Stars is around our annual awards to recognise great work, and we have over 20 categories with the winners announced on the evening. And then this page is just to show you the external awards that we've won over the last year. It's just a few, there are a few more, we couldn't fit them on the slide. And I think this is really critical for our teams to show that they're being recognised for the amazing work that they do externally as well as internally.
Super. So recognising our team is an absolute huge focus for us. We have recently done a programme called Leading with Care, which has gone across all of our homes. It was for home managers and also for our deputies. It was to give us an understanding of, first of all, the makeup of our team actually. So we did some insights personality profiling to look at the kind of personalities that we had across the business. And that showed us that typically, as you would expect, we have very caring, lovely, thoughtful, nurturing people across our business who really do value being thanked. And for us to know them as individuals and not just, you know, it's kind of know me, not my role. So this has become very important for us. And we often see on social media people holding up their thank you cards that they've received from their home managers. And that really was an engagement program that we led with all of our leaders across the business last year. So that was our Leading with Care. And from that, we then evolved our leadership program. Now we also have a career pathway for all of our teams, so they can map across all the learning they can do in order to get themselves to a level that they want to in their career. And also within that, we also give them a chance to go through their apprenticeship programs too. We also have a number of inductions, a very thorough induction for three months, and it's all about engaging them right from the start. So lots of good ways that we communicate with people right from the very start of their journey to make sure they have the very best experience.
5 minutes to go.
Okay, so our leadership development program, we have 2 elements now. It used to be called our Emerging Leaders program, and I think we've developed it over time based on the feedback that we've had from those people going through it. So we have a Future Home Manager program, and that gives people the option to do their level 5 apprenticeship, but it also gives them the chance to do 3 behavioural programs that we have moulded based on the success of our Leading with Care program. So we've looked at the key elements of that, and we've created 3 behavioural workshops for them. One is all around how they engage with their team. One is all around how they then train their team, how they develop their team, how they coach their team. And then the last one is around critical thinking, so how they can understand and analyse key data for great business performance and thinking about objectives for their own homes. So that's been one of our programmes. And then we've got another one that we just launched now, actually. So it's just launching in the next few days, and that is our Future Deputy programme. So we've got 30 people signed up to begin that. There's a similar programme, behavioural workshops, but then both of these programmes also get access to 30 core skills workshops that are delivered by people across the business. So it may be that they decide that actually they are interested in knowing how to show somebody around one of our care homes. They will book on to do the core skills workshop around sales. So there's lots of different options for people to pick and choose from. And what we've really worked on over the last few years is trying to get lots of leadership models that then live and breathe in our business and are connected in everything that we do. What we recognised by doing some research was that a lot of our home managers wanted help and support with having difficult conversations, which you'll appreciate in care homes they have on a regular basis. So we focus on models that will help and support them with that. Now, it's successful. We have lots and lots of examples where we have developed people internally and they have gone on to be outstanding home managers. So this is Tracy, who's up at Hollins Park, and she started with us in 2004 as a care assistant and has now gone on to be an award-winning home manager for us. So lots of examples where the leadership program really does help and support people's careers.
Everything that we do is to make sure that our colleagues are able to provide a safe environment for our residents, but making sure that they continue to lead fulfilling lives. Critical for residents, particularly with dementia, is to make sure that they see familiar faces every day. Therefore, it's even more critical that we do retain our team members. And engagement is absolutely critical, particularly within this sector, because they are typically national living wage roles, is to make sure that we're doing everything else over and above to provide them with an environment they feel valued, and make sure that we're able to recruit the right people into those roles that will provide that care for our residents. And particularly what Nikki was talking about earlier was around making sure that we are providing a variety of activities for our residents and the wishing trees. And for residents, in terms of an example of fulfilling lives, we had one resident who always wanted to meet the Pope, and we were actually able to arrange for the home manager to travel to Rome with the resident, and they met the Pope, which is absolutely amazing. But there are other things that happen on a daily and weekly basis that may not be as big as that, to make sure that our residents feel that they're able to continue to live their life as they did outside of the home as well. I think just on a final note, just wanted to cover off, because obviously with the pandemic, it's even more critical that we improve the levels of communication engagement within the homes. And particularly, we've invested in a new tool to talk to colleagues so that we can communicate directly with them centrally rather than through home managers. And so we've invested in a tool where we can text every single team member and provide them with updates. And I think the biggest thing for me was the first message that we sent out to, we had 8,000 mobile numbers, we sent to 8,000. Within 4 hours, over 5,000 colleagues had replied and filled the survey in to say that they really valued it, and they would like to continue to hear in that medium as well. And they also talked about the topics they'd like to hear about. So it's been really critical that we've continued to maintain the communication, but actually uplift it and provide even more communication in this challenging time to all of our colleagues.
Okay.
The end. Any questions?
I think we were more or less on time. That was great.
Bang on,
Shall
Sam.
shall I stop sharing that now? Yep.
No, it's fine. We've got questions, so it's fine. So yeah, brilliant story and really great to hear. So we're gonna have some questions from the panel. So who'd like to go first?
I'll kick us off
Questions?
with a gentle one, if you don't mind. Within the written submission, you mentioned earlier the Colleague Voices Forum. There was a piece in the submission that said we wanted to make them more fit for purpose. They're now more open. And I was just intrigued by the genesis or the catalyst for making them more open. What wasn't working before?
Yeah.
Why and
Sure.
when did that change?
Yeah, so so they've been running for 10 years, and up until probably 2 years ago, they were very much HR run. So it was one of those forums of come and talk to us. And I kind of looked at it and thought, actually, these are our RD's teams, these are their people, and actually they should be able to talk to them. But it took a period of time for them to build the trust. So we kind of went from they're run by HR to actually RDs come along to then RDs now start to run those quarterly ones. But it was very much they need to get that trust if they could actually say something and not for fear of losing their job, for example. So it's really changing that culture that has allowed people to be more open and actually share and come up with ideas and feel like they'll be listened to.
Yeah, love that. And what were the and building on that, what were the biggest barriers to break down that perception of not necessarily lack of trust, but to maybe build that trust up?
Yeah.
How was that achieved?
I think there's a couple of things. One is around the belief if I'm going to say something, you're actually going to do something about it, because they would quite often share ideas and then nothing was done. So we made sure that at every event we do a you said we've done, and we communicate that every single time. We've built up kind of years worth to show this is the changes that you've driven across the business, but we continue to do that every single time. And then the other is the leadership programs really help to develop the RD and home manager behaviours that a team member feels that they're going to go along and talk. The home manager won't say what you're going to talk about, but also the RD listens to them, and they've developed their leadership behaviours to know, listen, and then go back to them and give them an answer as well, and actually respond to what they've highlighted.
Yeah, got it. Thank you. I have a few other questions as well, but I'll let the other panelists hold the 15 minutes of chat here. Thank you.
Just out of interest, talking about leadership behaviours, out of the leadership behaviours, which have been the hardest to shift? You know, because you look at organisations and there's a lot of organisational conditioning, and I think the bigger and larger an organisation, you find that people can get stuck in the ways. So what would you say has been the biggest challenge?
I would say that there's probably a couple of things. I think one is around, you know, when we first looked at our Leading with Care programme, and we wanted to seek to understand some of the views really of our team members. There was a piece around see me, not my role, which was very important. And whilst I don't think that's a difficult one to shift necessarily, I think it took a bit of thinking about. And I think the nature of the business is sometimes that we're very task focused, and so there tends to be a lot of tell, and the team were feeling that. So whilst there is clear instruction, it was sometimes delivered in a way that teams didn't always respond so well to. So we've really tried to shift to a much more coaching kind of style. And so we're using the GROW model. We've been using it for a few years, and much more around, you know, helping our teams to take some ownership of the things that they do themselves, and to be involved in the process of maybe change within their own home, so they can start to, you know, to ask, not tell, has been kind of one of the key things that we've been trying to drive.
Can I just add to that as well? And I think this is a sector-wide I say challenge, but there's benefits to it as well. Typically, a home manager has grown up within the sector, so typically gone from nurse into home manager. And so I know from coming from hospitality sector, etc., there is probably a lack of commerciality and leadership within the sector overall. So it's not just individuals, it is a culture that we need to challenge, but it's a sector-wide challenge to make sure that we're able to provide those behavioural development areas and support them in that. But then you've got the positive of they know the sector, they care, and they want to look after people, they want to look after the residents. Therefore, how can we give them the leadership behaviours to make sure that they're behaving the right way as well?
And I think, Paul, just on that as well, I think when we did some research and we looked into the types of leaders that we have across the business, as I say, they were lovely, caring, warm individuals, as you would want in a care home, but it does throw up challenge of can they have some of those more difficult conversations? And they would be the first ones to say that's what they find really challenging and difficult, is to have difficult conversations, to maybe have a conversation with a member of a team that might not have done something in the right way. They found that quite challenging. So I think that's been very interesting for us as a business, and thinking about, you know, how we help them with their leadership skills around critical thinking and, you know, being objective and considering business performance as much as the team. So I think it's been a learning journey.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you. Any other questions from the panel?
Yeah, no, Mike. Oh, go on.
There you go, Rupert. It's fine.
Just very quickly, just building on what Paul was asking about. That was one of my questions. Was, you know, it's great. We've got all those models. I'm intrigued to know what OML is. Just, what was that one?
Oh, you know, you've put me on the spot there now, because that's,
Oh, don't worry,
that's
don't
our
worry.
latest one now. That's our latest one, and now I've got to try and remember what they all stand for.
Oh my lord! I don't know. Anyway, don't worry about it. Not important for the purpose of this. That's my curiosity coming out there. But the big thing about, you know, you can give people a model, millions of models, but actually the reality is how they actually deploy that model, and that's where the rubber hits the road. It's where they differentiate themselves. So I guess the big question is, I think it's great that you've profiled them. I can imagine there's a lot of very sort of what we would call loyal connector types naturally within your world. So how have you worked with them to sort of flex that muscle, as it were, to be able to actually not just appreciate the model in principle, but be able to use it in practice?
Well, I think it's a journey for us, and the models bit, and the reason the models came around is because a few years ago, and I suppose I'd worked as a consultant also for KUK before, what was happening is we were having lots of leadership training coming in, but each with a different model. So they weren't necessarily KUK's models, and they therefore maybe didn't always live longer term. And I think so what we've done is, first of all, had some of our team come together and to help shape some of that. So something like the GROW model, for example, which is a lovely, yeah, I'm sure you use it. It's a lovely coaching tool. So we launched that at our Home Managers Conference. We gave them the opportunity to practice with some of that with some of their colleagues. We now put it into all of our leadership training going forward. We've kind of embedded it into some of the conversations that we have. We've embedded it into our one-to-ones. There's elements of it in our appraisals that we're just kind of finalizing now. So it kind of then threads through everything that we do. So the models are quite a new thing. Hence why I can't remember the OML off the top of my head. But we are certainly, we are kind of, I suppose, putting them into everything that we're doing now, but we're drip feeding it in, so that it looks like a huge amount when we put them all on one slide, but they're kind of drip fed into all of the different documents, all the different training workshops that we do. And what was lovely, actually, we just launched our train the trainer workshop, because what's really important for us is that we don't just deliver it once, but we have our home managers helping to deliver our programs going forward. So today, actually, right now, we have a train the trainer session going on with our home managers, and it will then help them to understand the models more. So it is a journey. We're on I suppose the start of it with the models themselves, but I think by having our home managers deliver it, it will just help the whole business to reconnect with them and use them more than we probably have ever done in the past.
Great
Did
stuff.
that answer your question? I'm not sure that answered your
Yes, it did. I'm hearing it's a journey. I think there's always a risk there with these models that you can have sort of model weariness, or just a model being overwhelmed by.
I agree. Do you know, I absolutely agree. And I think, I know that it looks a lot when we're on there, but it was things like, when we talk about having a difficult conversation, there was no structure to have that difficult conversation. So we've just put in a simple model that talks about emotion, truth and choice, our ETC model. And it's literally just, take the emotion out sometimes. Sometimes we have to have an honest and difficult conversation. And sometimes we let the emotions just get in the way of having that. And sometimes we've just got to take a back step and go, right, take the emotion out for a moment. What is the truth of the situation, and therefore how do we make the right choice to go forward? And they've really connected with that. And we've had messages through from the train workshops we do the last few days, just saying, I'm getting it. I'm starting to see how all these models interconnect and interweave, and how they all kind of mold into one another almost in the leadership skills.
That's great. It's great. It's a great story and a great presentation. Thank you.
I think just to add to that as well, though, I think that because all of our programs have been designed within Care UK, all of our case studies, everything we talk about are things that happen every day, so they can relate to them. So they understand, actually, I get that conversation now and I get what I could have done differently rather than hypothetically what it could be. And also we refer to our home managers like a process. So actually, if we can give them a model that says do this and then do this and then do this, like, got it, I will follow that process. They're very good at doing that.
Yeah. Just to think about the current climate, I am just in awe of anybody who works in a care home. So, you know, and the fact that you are driving engagement and pride and all the good stuff, amazing results that you shared is a real achievement. You should be proud of yourselves.
Do you know, so our colleagues, our team members in the homes are absolutely amazing, and they, for every day, they've gone in and they are putting their own lives at risk. They've moved into care homes and left their families to make sure they can look after the residents. I get goosebumps every time I talk about them because they're absolutely amazing. They're doing a wonderful job. And the most critical thing is we recognise them for that, because they were doing it before, they're doing it even more so now.
Do you know what's lovely? I've got this in front of me, which is our Fulfilling Lives kind of newsletter that goes out. And if you read it, it's just so heartwarming just to think about how our teams have had to adapt in how they keep residents communicating with their family, and you know, in such a difficult time to make. I've got things here that, you know, that helping them with Zoom and helping them to put like pen pal notes up of, would you like to be my pen pal here? It's just lovely how you know, the residents are just protected from all the stuff that's going on outside, and yet still help to communicate with their relatives.
And to give another view from what you see in the press to what, you know, what's happening, yes, they have had to do lots of stuff around isolation, etc., but they still had their gin and card nights, they still did their wine at lunch and dinner, you know, that was still happening. It was just they'd sit in their door, so they would quite often have the doors open for their bedrooms because they had to stay in bedrooms quite a bit, but they'd have their tables at the doorway so they could still see everyone while they were sitting there having their wine, their gin and tonics, playing games up and down, whilst obviously isolating and keeping the social distancing, but that they really tried to keep it as normal as possible for the residents.
Sweet. Lovely. Great job. Sorry, Matt, or anybody else, I took over there for a bit.
Sarah, Smiley, do you have a question?
No.
I wanted to, and I don't want to detract or move too far away from all the wonderfulness that Rupert was getting into, and you are doing clearly a phenomenal job. I'm trying to, in my mind, make the connection between the efforts you're making in the employee engagement initiatives and the underlying business results that you've achieved. Like you've grown, you've taken on new properties, you're doing tremendous things. I'm wondering whether you do make that connection, and if you do, how, between we're investing all of this time in our people and our people are loving their work, but by loving their work, are they impacting in any way, shape or form the business strategy and or results? And I hate to be the guy that kind of talks about business results, and I'd much rather be Rupert talking about the work you're doing, but you know, there are two sides to the coin, aren't there, always?
Sure. So we know that, or it's evidence, and I don't think anyone would disagree in any sector, that our care homes are successful if they have the right home manager. The home manager, if they're not leading the team, then no, it's not a successful home. So getting the leadership right is absolutely the most critical thing. Therefore, either recruiting externally the right person or developing internally is critical. Get the home manager right. Then it has to flow through to, actually, if you've got engaged teams and they stay, you've got all the costs associated with that, of you not having to recruit new people, not having to do more induction, etc. We can then reinvest so that we can reinvest money both into our new build programme, into our estate that's slightly older, into our homes that are local authority contracts, so therefore they don't make as much money, but we try and spread it across, so we are still providing the same level of service in every single home. So yes, we know that we do not get occupancy levels, we're not getting the investment in the homes if we don't have the right home manager there. If we're going to invest in a home, we need to know we're going to get the occupancy results back, and so we need to know that that home manager is performing. So we'll do talent reviews every quarter of our home managers. We have probably the last 3 years, we've started to really instill that performance management culture. Sorry, hold on, I've got something.
Do you know, it was me earlier, Wasp Man turned up to come and look after my wasp nest and was banging on the window.
Sorry. So yeah, we do quarterly talent reviews to make sure that we are focused on performance levels of our home managers, because we absolutely know it does correlate to, as we said, the resident and relative satisfaction, which drives the business results. Oh, and we're private equity owned, so we have to show that we are driving those results.
Of course, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, we're at time there. We're at time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Everybody.
you.
Brilliant.